This broadcast is live. We're live.
This broadcast is brought to you
Boom.
by some gadget guy and some TK Tesla Bay. This time with no mirror
Tesla
effect.
Bay.
Well, I was going to say Tesla because
Yeah.
usually that's what if Aditya was in the chat, he'd be like jumping down my, right there, like TK Tesla Bay, TK, Sony Bay, all of the hashtags, which I really love.
TK Taco Thursday.
Yeah. You earlier today were like TK Taco Tuesday. I'm like, seriously?
I feel it's a missed opportunity. I feel like
it is a missed
should be-
opportunity. I like Tuesdays for what they used. I used to have a show for those. I used to call that Exposed Tuesdays for those exposed modules that I used to do videos on. And I haven't brought back,
And
unfortunately.
again, Aditya's be like, that's the name of your sex tape.
It is exactly
Exposed modules.
It is TK and Juan After Dark. Thank you for joining the show.
After dark.
TK Taco Thursday Bay. Oh my god. Okay, Michael Pepperdeck is just killing me right now. I see Andrew Andrew Fat Produce is in the chat. Greg Renesh is in the chat. Thank you very much for joining us on this beautiful evening, Thursday evening. Today is the 24th of June, 2020. I had to look. I've had a lot of meetings today. Let's just say this.
It's been a busy day.
It is like back to back. I'm talking day job, YouTube, other stuff, YouTube, things like that. It's fun. I'll say this.
Well, I was very appreciative of you dropping by. There was like a little kind of a quiet Team Pixel event for one of the products we're going to be talking about as we're checking out some Pixel Buds. I was really glad to see my buddy show up in the chat. So that
the hype train, man. I'm always there, man. Always. If you didn't ask us to mute, I would have been like, go. Yeah, Juan, you said it, Juan. You tell him, man.
It was pretty funny because like we kept this presentation. I mean, it was short for me, right? I'm used to like 2.5 hour podcasts. So to try and get me in at like sitcom distances, like to try and get under 30 minutes is actually a pretty good challenge.
Like I said before, I said when you said you could talk about the subject of audio for a while, I think people may not have understood that it is a true passion for you and you can talk. And I'm not trying to make it sound like a bad thing. I'm saying it's a good thing. Like for me, listening to these type of conversations is a beauty. First, it's an honor because I get to see you in your field. We've talked and we've worked together for many, many years, but I have yet to see you in the audio conversations when you're having these type of streams. So again, I felt like you were the right person, and I'm glad I was able to be part of it, sitting back and listening to music, jamming, all of that good stuff.
Well, I was really honored that the Team Pixel PR folks were like, hey, we
got some buds.
This guy,
you're a bud. Yeah.
Right. Hey, buddy,
I'm sure that was the pitch.
Buds.
Hey, Juan, we got some buds. You're my bud.
So I mean, again, it was an honor to represent the Team Pixel group, and sort of hold that conversation with some of the product managers. At Google talking about that. So I hope a version of that, like maybe if they cut down some of my rambling,
I'm sure they're going to do bites. It's more than likely going to be sound bites, PR things and stuff like that. They have, and I'm hoping honestly, I mean, there's really the information in there is really good information. So whatever they end up releasing out of it, I think it was great, but still it reminds me a lot of those Team Pixel meetings that we used to have. Remember, like the last official one. Yeah, I was going to say the last in-person one. We were. What was that building that you and I? Not the YouTube space. The one after that. That was the last one we hung out at, where it was on the rooftop of a hotel.
Yeah,
and we got a beautiful scenery. Remember, like we met up.
It was downtown LA at sunset. Yeah,
exactly.
And everyone's like, "Let me show you the night mode on this camera." And
absolutely,
it was the first time we were all cracking. Was it Pixel 4? Was that really?
I want to say it was. No, was it the Pixel 4? Was it the 4? No, maybe it was the 4A.
It might have been Pixel 4. It might have been a
That
while
let
back, man.
Oh man, that was a long time ago.
But
Okay.
anyway, it's
Yeah, yeah.
when we talk about, I mean, sorry, we're kind of giving you a little behind the scenes here.
We're like
Um,
reminiscing on things, yeah.
yeah, right. Let's just all those warm, friendly, fun
See,
memories
now I
that
gotta look up the pictures. I know how
no
to bring
no
up that
one
thing.
gets to participate with unless you're a reviewer. You remember, audience, that time we were all on a rooftop together. The thing that's so organic about working with marketing and working with a PR team is being in the middle of a conversation, just talking about some earbuds.
Mhm.
There's another person who actually represents the engineers that worked on that product,
Yeah.
and the information comes to life in a way that you can't replicate with a promo video or a
No,
press release. You can
absolutely.
read all the specs off the side of off a sheet of paper, but if you follow guys like TK and I, then you know the actual lived experience is so much more valuable than just the bullet points on the spec sheet.
Yeah.
And when you get the chance to hear from someone designing the product that there was a reason, again, this didn't just arrive
The
with the
rationale,
spec
exactly.
sheet.
What they were trying to do
There's
is
a
what.
philosophy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that to me, I feel is that one part of the story. And it's one of the things, like whenever one of those events comes up, I always hope that there's a part of it that does get shared publicly. Not
Mhm.
not just for me pontificating on audio, because there was a lot of me rambling about audio, but kind of some of the reactions. Like there were some things that I didn't know going into that conversation, but
Mhm.
they let me as the host kind of guess a little. And it was kind of refreshing, like, oh, when you're doing this with the tuning and you've got this kind of a single driver earbud design and you're trying to accomplish that, I mean, is that what you guys were working towards? And to watch the product manager go, yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
that's
you
exciting.
understood, you got it. And you're like, okay, that couldn't have gone better if we scripted it,
Yeah.
and we didn't.
No, no, no. It was totally off the cuff, and it was a lot of it was answering a lot of questions also that was in the chat. So he was covering things, some things in there. Uh, we finally the short version of this. We finally got a chance to play or use or check out the Pixel Buds A series. Um, and you can't find yours. Something. It's like
Um,
one's like it's
they
downstairs.
might hold on. Keep talking. I'm going to be able to hear you. There might be just outside of headphone cable reach. Hold on.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So yeah, I wanted to definitely say, hey Aditya, welcome back, Gary, everybody in the chat, thank
Whew,
you very much, and and
made it.
but yeah, so we get a chance to play a little bit with the Pixel Buds A. Now, if you think that they look very similar to the Pixel Buds that came out last year, it's because they do.
You would be correct.
You would be correct, and the color is 90% of the way you're going to be able to tell. Also, they're slightly smaller, like very smaller, like every so small, like it's a hairline smaller
Oh, and,
in
unless
size.
you are analytically holding them side by side, they're
It's
almost
hard,
exactly the same.
absolutely, and the only reason why I know is because I have been holding them side by side, and I can see it's like there's a little bit of a difference in architecture and the design. This is not replacing the Pixel Buds from 2020, the true wireless one. This essentially is the Pixel Buds A, and it's a
Magnets.
more, dude. Not only have you, if you saw that picture that I posted on Instagram, that was on my refrigerator. That
Clink.
sucker. No, no, no. Okay, so okay, now that you showed that, I got to show this, which is the other thing
Do
that I
it.
was like, I was
Do it.
surprised. Now they don't have wireless charging. They don't, which is I was hoping for that to be there as part of the solution. But Pixel Pixel 5 and come on, can we get it? Can we get it? Yes.
Hold. Stay on target. Nice.
Magnets. I love it. The magnet is definitely so. The Pixel Buds have magnets. The Pixel Buds A have a stronger, way stronger magnet,
No,
which it works great on anything that is metal. I know now we're like all looking for metal things. Let me see here. Is this
not
metal?
enough in the frame on the Pixel 4 XL. I mean,
No,
because
no.
there's a little bit in the sort of the architecture of
But
it.
the Pixel
Not enough.
5, yeah,
Pixel
so
5.
the Pixel 5 has more of a metal construction, and
Yeah.
it's actually around the reverse wireless charger. By the way, it's centered around that piece, so it's almost like you
Nick,
could find it. Yeah.
it's not quite Apple MagSafe, but
No. Oh, and
there
then
is, it does kind of align, which is kind of
no,
interesting.
but there's also magnets on the ear tips.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I was like, anyway, short answer. It's not that we're, you shouldn't be doing that. Otherwise you're going to lose it. It's a great way to organize it. If you're sitting at a desk or somewhere where you do have a metal area, you're able to just magnet let it like, whoop, right there. Otherwise, it's it doesn't have wireless charging. I was wishing this function with wireless charging, because then it would make sense. Because these guys have it. So
Yeah,
if you think,
we could break down just some of the differences.
oh,
So
absolutely.
Pixel A series, it's definitely a play at making a somewhat more affordable, but still very premium product. The things that matter are very similar. Same driver size for
Hmm.
audio quality. The new Pixel Buds are a little bit lighter.
Slightly.
But their cost savings are on things like no wireless charging in the charge case, and they don't have the swipe volume feature that I
I was about.
love
I was the first thing I
on
did was
second
I put them on, and I was like,
oh, right.
nope, nope, no, not happening. Yeah, and then I looked in the instructions, like, no. But you know what? Honestly, it's the changes that they went with over the 129 to the 99, I feel like were
Hmm.
reasonable. The
Yeah.
reality is, if you still want to pick up the original Pixel Buds, you can. They're still available. The Pixel Buds A, I think, in a way, provide you a more. It's a sub 100, so they broke the $100 mark, kind of.
Hmm.
But they're still, again, they're sticking to the core message, the core experience that you get with Pixel Buds. So they're still giving you great audio.
Oh yeah.
It still sits very light, and like you said, it was slightly lighter than the Pixel Buds, which for me, for my initial impressions on this, is it's more comfortable to wear for an extended
Hmm.
amount of time. Touch response right on point. What's it called? In-ear detection also works really nice. I was
Yeah, it works
surprised
really
how
well.
quick they work. And then that a little bit of a EQ, that little tiny EQ in there, that was actually kind of nice, like a nice update. Um, and the good thing about it, like I said, is the form factor. They fit in my little pocket. That's like my test.
Hmm.
True wireless bars, if they're going to be portable, they need to seamlessly integrate into your life, right? They're, like you said, I think earlier today, they're a very personal way of interacting with something and using it. So carrying them with us, we need to have a way where we're not, we don't feel like it's an inconvenience. It's not making additional thing, and you're not damaging the casing, because these things are beautiful. They're like literally, I mean, yes, it looks like an egg, but
So I gotta say, I don't know what I had in my pocket, but the Pixel A case does seem to discolor just
it's the
a little bit more than the
the
2020
original one.
Pixel Buds. Yeah.
Mine are pretty reasonable. Yeah, no, they're still holding up pretty good. This one,
It's
I've
just
been putting it
it's a
in that little pocket.
slightly different finish, and I had this in a phone with
You,
in a pocket with a phone in a carbon case, and it
a
was just
carbon case.
rubbing,
Hmm.
and there's something that came off, and I've never had that with anything else. So again, I wouldn't say that's a deal breaker, but
You heard it
it's
here
kind of,
first. You heard it here first. Juan,
yeah. I mean, you're forget about it. Not worth it for the monies.
exactly.
Just buy some first generation AirPods, because that's good, I
AirPod
guess.
Maxes for the win. Just
The I think one of the most commented on, so I think probably one of the most requested improvements has definitely been connectivity.
it was the
It's a
number
different
one. Yeah.
connection protocol.
Hmm.
This has sort of a master slave for the 2020 Pixel
Hmm.
earbuds, where one bud becomes kind of the relationship to your phone, and then transmits to the other bud, like
Yeah.
through your skull. Whereas the Pixel Buds A, each one individually connects back to the phone,
Which I
and
think it's a protocol that we started to see with weird enough, like a while back with Huawei, when they started with their free buds. They
I
started
so
doing more independent connectivity between
yeah.
different. I'm not talking even like 2020. I'm talking about 2019.
I'm trying to say, hey Jeff, what's up? Yeah, we
Dude,
are. You're getting a double dose of Pixel Buds today, bud.
exactly. El Jefe,
He was
Senor.
also joining on the Team Pixel stream. No, it's the appreciated thing is, yeah, and I kind of brought this up too, because there has been a lot of chatter. The 2020 Pixel Buds were so good, except for some of these issues with things like connection. It's
Connection
going to affect
was number one. Yep.
some people really, really badly. Some people aren't going to be bothered by the occasional dropout or stutter, and some people
I
like,
liked your analogy, by the way, the Faraday case. It was just
yeah, well,
you
again,
had me rolling on that one.
I just like, when it comes to blue, okay, so I'm a cable snob. The connection on a cable means always perfect.
Absolutely.
And so anything less than a cable is less than. Yeah, obviously. But there's just something about, I keep a phone in my back pocket, and it's very rare that I can be outside, because
Hmm.
Bluetooth, it kind of depends on the reflection off of surfaces as a method of maintaining that connection protocol.
Okay.
Bluetooth seems to be built around enclosed spaces like rooms and cars. And when I go wide open, I'm out in a field, I'm taking a hike. If the phone is in my back pocket and the connection isn't perfect, and I don't have the exact like radio broadcast, I stutter. I these things drop out. It's very rare, and that's one of the reasons why I've been clinging to neck bands for as long as I have, is because you have more room for antennas. You know, the battery, you don't get as many charges because you can put your true wireless back in a case, but on a single charge, you get like 10 to 12 hours of playtime, you know, on a neck band. So taking both of these out in the field, because I've only had my a Pixel Buds A for a couple days.
Yeah, so I think we all got the
I mean, I think I maybe got it a day before the rest of Team Pixel.
Oh, good.
Just because I was going to be hosting this event, they gave me an extra day.
Make sure you got one. Yeah, I know.
Right.
It would have been awkward.
I got one full charge.
Would have been an awkward conversation. So we're all here to talk about something we don't have. No, no. I think that the timing was perfect, and I mean the Pixel Buds. We've seen, you know, it's not, we're not breaking any news or anything like that. Pixel Buds A videos have been out for a while, so we're finally getting, the Team Pixel finally gets a chance to check it out, which is, it's always fun. You know, especially with, like I said, it's like a nice little meetup. Typically, we all get a chance to hang out together. El Jefe was with us. JDJ's in there, and Gary, OnePlus Buds 2 all day strong. I mean, there are. So for me, the biggest thing with the original Pixel Buds was the connectivity. Audio wise, I never did have a problem. And initial review of it, it was just good performers. You know, and they updated them as time went on. They got a little bit better. But I think that sentence the one that really always stands out for me is, I typically work in this office for a while, right? I work here for hours, but on the off chance I do need to step out and go do things around the house, and I don't want to carry my phone with me every single second I leave. My watch seems to do quite fine with me being in the living room and not being in the office. And I've had buds that actually have struggled even just going 10, 15 feet with a wall between me and the location. So that's the biggest thing. Pixel Buds A so far has been doing good. That's actually, so that was the biggest passing grade. I know the first one didn't. So this one for me was a much better solution. And I like the fact that they're small, the same size, the same drivers. Like I said, the experience is very much simple, easy to pair, and they show up on everything. That's the weird thing. Like, I'm listening to music and I was standing next to my wife. The case wasn't even in my pocket. And the buds showed up on her phone saying, Pixel Buds A are, you know, would you like to pair
around? Would you like
are around? And I'm like, but I'm using them. Don't ask her to take over. So
they're very eager to make friends. They are
that's
buds.
exactly what I was gonna say.
They want to be buds with everything.
They're very they're gonna be buds with everything. So yeah,
the conversation, I like that they let me kind of play around with some of the format of what they usually do. I got to ask a few kind of leading questions. I tried to, of course, like, so what can you tell me about some of the future things you might be doing with Pixel Buds? And they never go for it, but you always have to try just in case.
Oh yeah, of course. I think it's
like a nugget or a morsel of information there.
Well, we can't say. I can neither confirm or deny those questions, and then you're like, did he nod? Did he give me the wink? Do I know? Yeah, it was one of those. I see Sebastian's just showing us as well. Hey man, hope you're doing well. So yeah, that was a very nice little get together, virtual hangout. Let's just say that it's a virtual hangout amongst friends. Jeff was with us and a few other Team Pixel. I saw Marion Noir. I think Marion was in there. I think she was popping in and out a little bit. Our buddy Josh, Senor Vergara. Taco Tuesday. We last week was actually really fun. Like, this is, if I had to kind of compare last week to this week's show, I'm missing the in-person, bro. I have to say, I waited too long to get to the in-person, and then now we're like, nothing's wrong with the virtual. Let's get back those mirror reflection and make it look like I'm sitting next to you and just have the conversation again. It was fun. It was fun.
I mean, last week was great, and getting to actually like hear you in this space and talk through
Dude,
stuff.
got a
Pretty
chance to
sweet.
talk, and again, thank you very much for the Tesla hat. I love it. I know
Yeah.
it's cheesy. I'm like Joey. I'm
It's
the
like
guy that buys things
you
that
got
shows
me
the.
this wonderful I'm sorry, the Porsche.
Yeah,
That's
that's
so
exactly
funny.
the moment you said it. Like, because you're getting a hat that says Tesla, and I'm driving the Tesla. Like anymore, Joey, I'm like getting the jacket and the keychain,
I
and
love
like,
it. But you actually have the car. That's the
yeah,
best
yeah.
part.
No, I
You're
know
not just
that
poser.
that would be messed
No,
up.
the that kind of conversation, because you got me such a nice housewarming gift with
What?
the Star Trek attack wing
Dude,
there. So I've got a little Akira class and a Reliant and a Defiant, and there's like, I got to get him something because I never. You don't need a housewarming gift, but
no,
you did
I'm not
just
moving
get a
in. Not yet.
Tesla, so
A car war. I like to start that actually. I will go ahead and
car
I'll
warming.
take a car warming. Why not? The car is definitely appreciated. I appreciate it. There was a nice drive up there. A little bit of traffic, which reminded me of LA traffic. Why I don't like LA traffic. I'm not saying it's you, bro. I totally love
Oh no,
the
it's
I'm
miserable. We were picking up Lex. We've got her in like a little day camp,
yeah.
just because she's out of school and she's a
Mhm.
social 5-year-old, and she'll go crazy if she's just sitting here with two grown-ups that are working on their computers all day.
Love it.
And we left to go pick her up. I don't know, like 4 o'clock. Yeah,
Eh,
we left almost exactly at
uh,
4 o'clock.
so you say his name, he shows up. Sorry.
Yeah.
Josh. Hey, Josh.
Hey. So we leave at 4, we go pick her up. It's maybe 10 minutes later, and our stretch of the 101 that we had just driven on
hmm
went from being wide open to being bumper to bumper gridlock
Yeah.
in the 10 minutes that we went to go get her. So I am definitely not thrilled with the like back to normal LA
Well,
traffic.
yeah,
That's kind of
it's
the
like
worst.
it's weird. It's almost like right around with the where the situation kind of hit. We had there was a small stint of time where there was nobody. It was empty. Like you could go
Yeah.
from LA to Orange County in 45 minutes, and that is not a distance you could ever cross that much on any day. Even if it's a good day, even if it's midnight. I mean, there'll probably be construction somewhere to just slow you down
Oh,
anyway.
I've done the OC drive coming back late at night, and those are actually some of the worst. So
Yeah,
there was
because
one
there's
time my grandfather, when he was still with us, he lived down in near Anaheim, and we were
rest in
driving
peace.
back up from his place, and all of a sudden traffic just comes to a screeching halt, and you're like, "What's going on?" And apparently there had been an accident, and the
Oh,
traffic was so bad in front of the accident that the only way they could get the person needed medical attention, the only way they could get the person out of the middle of the 91 was
mhm.
to fly a helicopter down onto the 91 and take them out of the traffic jam in front of them.
Oh, wow.
And that
Okay.
was probably at about 11 o'clock at night. That's how bad the traffic was at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, my
Was
experiences have mostly
incredible.
been back in the day when travel was a lot more. Yeah, I traveled a lot more than where we are now, and I typically always take like the really late red eye flights like, coming back because I always like I don't mind. I'll take a nap if I can't sleep on the plane. I'll go home. I'll crash, wake up the morning, go do my normal thing. But I was very surprised to see some heavy like traffic. I'm going to say is there was construction, and then what they do is they shrink the freeway down to like 2 lanes from 5, and that's enough to cause a backup. So what I'm trying to say is LA traffic exists regardless of what time of day and what weather system that is going on. And I
And
was
even if you're
very
not in LA, you probably are dealing with fallout LA traffic.
yeah, I
Maybe you're in Topeka, and if there's a bad traffic jam on the 405, you're probably still
yeah.
getting a ripple effect all the way
It,
out from the West Coast.
so I got a very big dose of welcome back kind of thing. Saturday I got a chance to spend some time with Josh, and we did get a chance to have some very handmade. I mean, seriously, I mean,
He did it
the
up,
whole
apparently.
he totally did it up. Like this, not it's not a it's not like the like I bought it from a store. It was in a packet and I just put it together for. No. We're talking from getting it, cooking it, seasoning it, putting it down. We had the ingredients in there. They had some really nice noodles in there as well, and I loved the ambiance, the hanging out. It was just a lot of fun, and it turned into a K-pop fest at the end, and it was just it was a lot of fun. Let's just say that. So happy birthday again to our buddy Josh, and hopefully you're enjoying your time.
This definitely brings up, we need to do like a techie karaoke live stream.
We do, and or actually, not only that, we need to do that, and we also need to figure out how to get the three of us to meet. Like kind of like a
but if we're
meetup at some point.
If we're doing a karaoke night, I'm gonna have to get Trish, because
she's
her
good.
husband is a phenomenally talented musical theater performer. Like, he's been Jesus Christ in a touring show of Jesus Christ
Superstar. Yeah, okay.
So we need the ringer, the guy who's going to make us all look bad. We can really jam.
We're getting some fighting words here right now.
I don't know, Josh. My bust a move is pretty formidable. So
unless he pulls out and it ends up being a Korean K-pop karaoke night,
then I'm burned. Yeah.
No. At the end, at the end of the afternoon when we were hanging out, the conversation shifted into Korean, dramas and so on, and then they turned on some Korean K-pop stuff. And then for me, it was just an experience. Honestly, it was really more about, honestly, just getting out.
You're talking about this like you're an anthropologist. Like, yes, it was fascinating to see, like,
it was fascinating. The interactions with humans. They get to talk.
I sat back and I was observing, and I was like, oh, that's very it's interesting that they just did that.
They broke bread, and some Diet Coke libations were served at certain points. No, seriously, it was very much it was a really cool Saturday event for me. Because and your video was also kind of coming up also on Saturday, so it was El Jefe's Jeff's video. So for me, it was a lot of good things going on. But going over there, hanging out with with Josh was like the remnants of what we used to do. It's not at the park or at the thing with the mask and there's this distancing. It was just honestly hanging out and chilling, and that was the fun part. And then you and I got a chance to try something I've never known it even existed, a falafel pie, which I'll admit now I bought another one on the way home.
Oh man.
Yes,
man.
There's something, and it's like weird combinations that don't ever make sense. And then when you have it and you're like, no, this makes sense. This
and like that pickled veggie salad that they put in there with like that creamy sauce, which
all of that, the tahini, the hummus, the pickled turnips in there. It seriously is a falafel sandwich if you went to the place and got it. But it was inside of a pie, and the nice thickness of the bread, even when it stayed till later, like I had another piece the next day. Still very, very, very much.
Because and also the consistency of the dough was somewhere in between like pita and pizza crust.
Yeah, I called it a calzone. I was trying to
exactly.
It's about the calzone.
It's being like a calzone, but
I felt like I was like, you're calling this a pie, but it's a calzone,
Calzone.
Yeah.
Getting into like a bad Parks and Rec.
Man, it is absolutely no. But so that was my week last week. So it's hard for me to say that this week was going to be actually topping it. It's hard for me to kind of say, well, last week kind of like you thought last week was cool. This week is even better, man. No, not even. This week is interesting. I mean, there's a few things. Obviously, Windows 11. We're going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we need to talk about Windows 11.
There was a lot of things, and of course, the Pixel Buds was a nice little surprise from Team Pixel. That was actually
this was a good week for audio. The Pixel Buds was definitely like a highlight. The thing I mean to leave off and kind of sum up, because we're both going to have some videos.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, of course. So we can kind of sum up our thoughts like a little bit more completely in a better video. But
I'll give you my review right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. Just leave me a breakdown and buy or don't buy, worth it or not worth it, thumbs up, thumbs down, and also a comparison against every other pair of earbuds from $50 to $200, and active noise cancellation and spatial audio and high res.
Yeah, spatial audio.
This is and especially after getting to speak with a Google product manager.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very specific conversation about organically soundtracking your life. Yep. This is not, I can't put these up as some kind of audiophile sitting down to really consume all the nuances of your music kind of a
Mhm.
solution.
Mhm.
At $100, they're not quite the earbud impulse buy that we've seen in true wireless, but the experience is so much nicer for taking them out and doing things across your day and having audio kind of float you
It
through
yes.
different environments and different experiences, and I think they make a wonderful argument in that space. So, I
And
mean, again,
they're yeah.
oh, go ahead. I was starting
No,
to
no,
like wax philosophical there. I've been talking about these things too much today.
what I meant to say is the other thing that we also need to keep in mind is these are the one of the few options on the market for $100 that have a very good, well integrated Google Assistant experience at that
Mhm.
level. Because unless you're going to jump into the XM4s or the XM3s on Sony's side, where you're going to be like $300 and 250, whatever. At $100, even with the inexpensive earbuds that you see on the market, none of them have Google Assistant activation features turned on. Gesture control into it I mean, well, that's not bad. Almost every single one of them has a action of press and hold, and you can activate it. But the
Yeah,
command, the Google Assistant, to be able to actually
it's more
speak to it,
discreet.
it
Yeah,
is.
and
And
the adaptive audio was I was worried about that. This is a carryover from the 2020 Pixel Buds, and I
yeah,
feel like they've refined
hmm
their audio processing algorithm a little. I feel it works a little bit better, though. There are still a few times where I think it does get a little louder than it needs to. But I can't really think of any earbuds that have done this any anywhere near as well as at this price. I feel like the last time I really enjoyed the getting an alert, having the alert read to me over my earbuds, and being able to reply with speech to text was one of the LG Tone neckbands, and I believe
I
that was a
haven't tried.
starter
Yeah.
price at around 150.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
So I have, unfortunately, my experience with LG's ended
and I'm
a
talking, this was probably
while.
like 3 years ago that I felt
Oh,
like
yeah, and mine is
because
even
they
earlier than
stopped
that.
doing that for the Tone earbuds.
Mhm.
So LG's Tone True wireless earbuds don't do the same assistant trick where you get an alert and you could choose to have it read to you, and then you could
That's
tap again and reply to that alert. Like
and I like
that's
that on the
now.
XM4. Sony's been doing it for a while, and I love it on all Sonys, in ear, over ear, all of those.
Yes,
I
so the Sony implementation is great. I can't think
absolutely.
of another pair of earbuds that do it as discreetly at $99.
That was what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
It's the combination of the experience that at 99 that's kind of like the approach you have to look at. I mean, if you really like integration with the assistant, and you really want to be able to get those notifications and respond, and don't want to go to the 130 to get the extra, some of the additional features that come with the Pixel Buds, I feel like the Pixel Bud A do have they have a spot. I mean, they do really fit or they solve, I guess, and I'm not saying I'm trying to make a problem for them to solve, but essentially they provide you an experience at an affordable price that
Yeah.
typically you're at the $250 to $300 price point for Sony's, since LG hasn't been doing it. So, and of course, or the other Pixel Buds, obviously, since they're not really competing, but they do fix the audio transmission. They give us a decent experience with the audio, with the EQ boost that we get there, which essentially is a bass boost. The adaptive audio for me, I kind of left it off. I don't really need it as much. I saw it. I noticed the feature. I don't like, as much as I feel like like, even with Sony's. This is the one thing that I usually typically do. They have the adaptive audio, which but it's not adaptive to volume. It's adaptive to the ANC, right? So it switches between
Mm,
ambient to ANC depending on the environment
yeah.
that you're in, and it's using location. It's definitely, I feel like, more complex, but I don't like, as I'm walking from one place to another, I just get a notification, ambient sound turned on, active noise cancellation. I'm like, okay, you're just doing too much in the background, and you're telling me about
Yeah.
too many things.
See, and that's the last thing, because I mean, we're getting questions like, lossless or audiophile quality or anything like that. They're AAC.
Yeah,
This is going to be good
there,
soundtracking audio
no
quality.
SBC, no LDAC. Let's just be yeah,
Yeah, I mean, no aptX HD,
yeah.
nothing like that. So what you were just describing for how the Sony's operated, and I
Mhm.
was really trying to think back, like my one mores. I
Yeah.
love those one more dual driver ANC earbuds. I really think they're stellar. Every single time I've tried to show someone the operation on them, there's a clicky button and a tap, a touch sensitive tap feature.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you need a flow chart of how they operate. And
Tap,
so
click,
what I think
play.
Google has done correctly, and especially calling this an A series, the Pixel
Mm-hmm.
Bud A series, not their premium top of the line offering. This is sort of to complement like a Pixel 4a 5G, you know, kind of a
Exactly.
good, nice mid-range solution. I think they have chosen correctly on how to make more of these complicated audio controls
Mm-hmm.
blend into the background. So this is a consumer facing product, a
Mm-hmm.
communication and an audio consumption product. I think a bit more focused on sound tracking than really digging into the, you know, the nuance of using audio as the primary activity that you're going to be enjoying and consuming.
Agreed.
And that, as an early impression for having used them a little less than a week,
Mm-hmm.
um I think it's the correct play. If you were in Team Android,
I like one
um,
more. That was sorry.
yeah, my Fawn Wars.
Yeah.
You know, compared to where we were with AirPods,
Mm-hmm.
this is easier to use, more feature rich, and more seamlessly integrated. I mean, we hear about Apple and ecosystem. You know, Siri on Apple hardware doesn't work like this. The where I'm at the bare minimum of my voice and I use the trigger, the keyword to activate the Google Assistant,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like as close to Star Trek vocal computing as I think we've gotten yet. And I don't have to like broadcast. I don't have to yell at my phone. They're picking me up, just me talking at kind of my quietest.
Your wife and daughter don't need to be hearing the entire command process of
Well,
like, oh, he's asking
it's
something vocally. Yeah.
it's funny. You know, like I'll trigger the keyword for her assistant on her phone. I mean, we're supposed to not be able to do that, but it still
Well,
happens. It's why we
uh,
don't use the keyword when we're in the middle of a live stream. So we don't want to
absolutely.
set it off on everyone
Or
else's
if we're
phone.
shooting a video, we always mute that word because last thing you want to do is trigger everybody and start. I mean, it could be a massive prank. It would be
Yeah.
funny on a live event when somebody says, "Yep," and then it says, "Do this," and I'm like, "Oh crap." Uh, it is like I said, that was some of the improvements that I enjoyed with it, but it's also, they're small, they're easy. Like when you're wearing them, you can barely even see them. That was the other the approach I really appreciate. But like I said, it's not competing. It's not a neck and neck competition with the XM4s. It's not a neck and neck competition with the XM3s. It's truly a tailored experience at $99 with specific with a specific set of features that they're focusing on. Sound is pretty decent. The EQ boost that we get right now is a single trick. There's only a bass boost, which I feel like they were trying to answer the EDM, dance, and rap type of music when you just want to be able to feel a little bit extra bass in your music.
A little extra junk in your trunk.
Exactly, and it's not strong enough to basically drown everything else. It's not like kind of just like. It's just a little bit extra. It's a subtle increase. Adaptive is decent. I just personally keep it off. It's not something I wanted to. I didn't feel like it was like after Sony's for me. It was something that I felt like I don't need adaptive. I understand what it's there for. I actually did like the idea of that you were kind of pitching at one point of having a limiter, maybe some type of a feature for a limiter.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I really want that on everything Android, regardless.
Ever since we had those, I forgot the name of the headphones. The headphones that you and I reviewed, I think was a couple
the
years
Puro?
ago. The Pure ones, the Pure gaming
Yeah.
one, right? The 70%. I love that, and not because I personally preferred them. I love it because that's the headset I gave my son.
Yeah,
it's a great gaming headset. It has the limiter built into it. It's by default, a good decent mic on it, and they actually sound pretty decent. It just again, you can't go above 70%. There's no need realistically. So I know we're trying to make it. We don't want to make this entire show into a Pixel Buds A. So welcome to the Pixel Buds A show. This is a Pixel Bud and Pixel
and be
Bud
sure
A
to watch the videos that we make and that Jeff
Oh,
makes,
yeah.
where we all kind of just repeat the same thing that you just heard on this podcast.
It'll be this exact same video sliced up in different slices. Sometimes what we'll do is
much prettier B-roll.
That's exactly
I'll
what I
be
was
like,
gonna say.
oh, look at this. Look, they're so great. Yay, B-roll.
I told you that the whole show you were doing, I really wanted to just keep doing this.
Well, to me, it's great because it's like Pac-Man. You're like waka 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 waka.
Yeah. I put them on top. I did the picture I posted. I put them on top of the case itself. It kind of looked like a smiley face like this. So, uh, so yes, we'll keep that there. Before we leave smartphones and jump into Windows Phone, I am going to show something that I'm going to say this is not for the faint of heart. Kids,
oh, here it comes, folks.
Guys, if you have any kids kids watching the show, please
hide your kids, hide your wife.
Exactly. So here's a small story that was kind of a little bit of that ended with a nice story, and I'll explain how we got there. This is and I don't know if it's specifically to the brand, but this is an Honor 7X. It's a smartphone from Honor. It's been around. It was released in the US. I think you and I were at CES when they announced them. Tons of things going on.
Sure.
And so I got two of these. I got one for review, and then I purchased another one for my in-laws. So my father-in-law and mother-in-law has been using them for years. But my mother-in-law always did this where she kept her phone on the charger all the time. Like she would charge it and it hits 100%, but she left the phone on the charger just because she always wanted to make sure her battery was there. About a week ago, she comes over and then she shows me this.
Ooh, spicy pillow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, and this is how bad it is. It bent the SD card, the SIM tray and SD card inside. So when we were trying to fix her, replace the phone, trying to give her another one, I couldn't get the SIM card out. I had to squeeze this part all the way down, have her push the pin in, and it was a surgery thing. I don't like it when my phone battery swells up, and I've had one other phone that did the same thing. So please, if you don't really need to, don't leave your phones on the charger all the time. There's really no need for that. PSA, please. Take it off once it hits you don't even have to wait till it's 100, but if you do, take it off, let it drain down to about 10-20%, and then charge it and take it off the moment it's 100. The phones are not designed to stay on a charger by definition. Even if they have a governor on them, they still could do this after a certain amount of years. And the last thing you want is a phone like this with your stuff on it, and you can't even get the memory card or even the SIM card out.
Yeah. Now, I mean, that happened to me on my Galaxy S6.
I remember
every one of those Galaxies has had some kind of battery failure.
Yeah, and this is essentially the battery swelling up.
Full balloon.
Full balloon.
Where it's bending out the OLED now. Like the entire phone frame is.
So luckily with this one is it popped the OLED at the bottom, and I think this is an IPS anyway. So, and the phone was still functional. It's just that when she showed me the phone, my mother-in-law wasn't, and I love the lady. She's really nice. And I don't think she understood that. She thought the phone wasn't fitting in the case for some reason. She's like, something's wrong. My case isn't fitting on my phone. And when she showed it to me, I'm like, oh, we got to change you now. You got to, no, this is not a phone you should be using. So she ended up she is now a proud owner of a Pixel 3a XL.
Hey, that's great.
So very happy to get her on Team Pixel. She asked me, she's like, what is this phone? What is it? I said, it's a Google. It's a Pixel. You're going to love it. It's going to take great pictures. It's fast. It's a large phone. It's about the same size as what you have.
I hope you actually put in a little of that. It's a Google. It's a Pixel. You're going to love it. You get the Pixel. It's
gonna take care of you. It's gonna take care of you. You're gonna be good.
You look out for it. It's gonna look out for you. Hey, bada boom, bada.
You're gonna meet a guy. His name is gonna be 12 in about a couple of months, and he's gonna take care of you. His name is Android 12. He's gonna come over and just do the whole stuff.
So I hope that's how it went down. Is like a bad high schooler theater presentation of Goodfellas.
Totally. I had the whole cap backwards, all of that good stuff. But yeah, no, we got her on. She's on.
It's a gabagool.
It's a gabagool.
Good. Well played, Josh. Well played.
Absolutely. Touché, my friend.
All right, so getting off the Google train, big announcement this morning. Do we want to talk Windows 10.1 minus the 0 and the point? Is that what Windows 11 is?
I think that's what it really. I mean, well, it's officially announced, right? Let's just say this: it was officially announced. The highly anticipated, highly leaked, highly installed and tested Windows 11, with some interesting conversations. Obviously, there's some interesting things that are coming out. Hopefully next week, as if they hold up to their schedule, we should be getting a preview that something you'll be able to actually install and play with. Which I'm assuming is what people were playing with last few weeks. The videos that we've seen.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
So
the
what I mean,
interest,
I'm
yeah,
sure there are a number of announcements, under the hood improvements, obviously a whole new visual aesthetic, which will hopefully start unifying all of the different legacy visual modes of Windows, where you don't have to dig too deep to get like
Windows XP things, yeah.
Windows XP elements on top of Windows 7
I
elements,
love-
with menus that came out of Vista
No
combined
win.
with
I like
Windows
this.
8.
I like Andrew's comment. No Windows 98 theme in Windows 11.
0 out of 5
0.05
stars.
stars. Yeah.
So I mean, let me just ask you, what was one of your favorite sort of reveals
So
from
the biggest thing I was excited about was honestly was
excuse
Android
me.
apps. I was actually
Yeah,
the
break this down,
ability.
because there are so many blog posts being
So many
published with that headline:
Android
Android apps on
apps
Windows
coming.
11.
So the approach here, or the essence, at least, so at least the way their intention to do here is they're really trying to, in my opinion at least, is to copy or mirror or bridge the gap that we have in the window in the Mac OS side. Apple already bridged that over. They've started to incorporate, applications. Windows hasn't been basically plain. We've had for the best experience, really, they integrated Skype. That's really what we got with Windows 10. They got Skype. They bought it. It's built. You install Windows. You get Skype with it. That's congratulations. You're in Windows. Uh, what at least Windows is trying to do, or Microsoft is trying to do now, is they're trying to bridge the experience so that if they're running Windows on ARM or if they're running Windows on x86, the experience is going to basically be mirrored. You're getting the same experience, and you're able to run Windows and Android apps straight out of the Windows App Store, the current Windows App Store. Some conversations we're talking about potentially having Amazon help them, that could also be the function that could be going there. What I feel like the benefit would be is it becomes more accessible. It's bridging that experience. We have a good integration right now. Samsung does a decent job with connecting to Windows, right? The integration of accessing your apps or accessing your notification, transferring data. Those are the initial views that we got. But now to be able to run the apps natively in Windows, similar to like running them on Linux, it's very much, or Chrome OS, like essentially what Chrome OS is doing.
I'll take it all the way back to my BlackBerry Passport was a champ at having an Android emulator built into it that would run Android apps. It functioned way better than you would think that kind of two-tier the emulation of that should
yeah. Some VMs are very, and I'm going to hate myself, but I'm going to take you back to last week when we had that conversation. I said a Mac, an Intel-based Mac running VM sometimes runs Windows 10 better than Windows PC. I'm trying to I'm not bringing that bad memory, but what I meant to say essentially is,
I think you know a guy.
I know it, and it just takes you right back. It like a week later, bam, we're right back there. It's more about for me the excitement part with the visual effects lifts that they've done. Those are things that we expect. Obviously, it's a Windows 11. It's 6 years or whatever, 5-6 years now since we've had a full-on version of Windows since when we first got introduced to Windows 10 after 8.1, and the whole visual debacle that we had with Windows 8. I'm looking forward to seeing the cohesiveness, like you said. It's unifying the ecosystem, unifying widgets, teams. Come on, the anticipation or the bringing, or I guess incorporation of teams. I think that's going to be something that's functional for us. I guess it becomes more of a competitive ecosystem now if you really look at it. But I'm hoping that all of this also comes with like the auto HDR functions that they were talking about. I'm hoping that everything kind of just smoothly works together. I'm a little bit anxious. I will not be installing this on any of my PCs that I'm using on a daily. If anything, I may install it on one of the Azules, like those PC sticks that we have.
I mean, again, if it can run, I need to do my compatibility testing.
So the only thing I think for me realistically maybe the graphics capability that may be our limiting factor. The single
and I believe some of the older Surface books. No, it's not Surface. The Surface Goes. Sorry.
Okay.
I've already listed that they will continue to get Windows 10 updates, but they will not be getting the full sort of new visual aesthetic of Windows 11.
Absolutely. And Windows 11 isn't coming out next week. That's a preview, right? So the actual release is going to be later this year. This is kind of like their alpha. They announce something and they release an alpha or a beta, so kind of a version of it. From what everybody's been doing with it, it seems usable. I mean, Linus did a gaming video on it, which I'm like, okay.
Oh, I mean, like, was it Hardware Unboxed already did a run of benchmarks, and like that, so supposedly a lot of these under the hood improvements are supposed to help mitigate operating system overhead.
Okay.
So especially for older and lower power machines, it's supposed to kind of reduce some of that CPU overhead and make things run a little bit more efficiently. But
Absolutely.
at least for their testing on actual specific programs like gaming and gaming applications and games,
gaming.
they're just called games.
That's what they call them.
They saw no drop off, so at least that would be nice, because I kind of feel like from multiple generations of Windows kind of get bad raps for being so much weightier than the previous generation of Windows that you wouldn't want to update. Here it seems like
unpolished. Yeah, the initial install is like, oh, how do I figure this? How do I troubleshoot that? And my driver's not working right. This is not being supported. The typical early adopter. Kind of also what I'm going through right now with the PC that I built, but that's just a little bit of a different conversation.
And you'll get to just slap Windows 11. Windows 11 is going to fix all that for you, bud. I mean,
oh my God! I'm sure it'll fix all of my problems on this side, and then introduce a whole slew of problems on that side.
You kind of went through a big chunk of their presentation when I said what was your favorite part of it being Android apps on Windows 11, but someone shared this on Reddit, and you got to go to my screen share.
Sorry, that whole,
because what I loved is that this was a joke that they shared without context. So this is not a real tweet, but it's doctored to look like it's from the BlueStacks Twitter account. And BlueStacks, yes. I'm sure you all know, is that software you can use to emulate Android and run Android apps, and it's just one word that is a fun little expletive.
expletive.
But what I love though is like, this is posted in the R Windows subreddit, and there was no acknowledgement of what it was that they were mentioning. But again, if you know that BlueStacks is a way to get Android apps on Windows,
you would have been like, yeah. It's exactly what Spotify said once Apple introduced Apple Music. It's exactly the same conversation.
The thing I'll be curious to see. So much of this is, again, so many people were kind of fixated on they're going to change up the taskbar and center it. Oh, look at these new widgets. I mean, we've had stuff like that since Vista. Yep. It's not the visual stuff. I mean, I think it would be nice to have a more cohesive UI. I mean, and I'm not going to complain about making it prettier, but when we hear about things like direct access to the GPU, that's kind of a big deal. Where if a developer incorporates that, I don't even know if it's an API. I don't know if it's a framework or how they're implementing this. But you can tell a piece of software to go directly from SSD to your GPU without the CPU getting involved.
Without having to. I wonder how they would do that, though.
Kind of a big deal. Again, when you're talking about getting the information into the thing that crunches the numbers for it more efficiently.
So using the GPU, what I meant to say is it's the architecture of our motherboards, the way the information flows through the circuits.
Right.
The flow right now is structured in a way where it goes straight into the CPU, into the actual core, and routes from there. It doesn't. So some of these may also need hardware improvements on our future Windows 11 systems, not necessarily.
Well, and that's also why you actually do maybe want to check out to see that there's a reason why there's a compatibility tool to see if you're going to get a Windows 11 update, because there are some very interesting under the hood changes to the normal process that we kind of envision for information lives in storage, and then it gets moved to RAM, and then it goes through your CPU, and you get to see it up on your display, and then the CPU sends it to your GPU, and then everything happens.
No, exactly.
We're trying to figure out ways to streamline some of these things that we know are going to be a little bit more data intensive or graphics intensive or processing intensive. And this is I mean, again, I kind of feel like if you've been in any of the conversations in my Discord,
Mhm.
this is where like Dave Burns kind of brings up some interesting points, like David, when
Mhm.
he's in these chats, that Microsoft is kind of slowly and quietly reforming what Windows is. It's kind of
Yeah.
like almost like operating system as service, but
Mhm.
in some very interesting ways, it's almost becoming its own like Linux distro at the same time. Like there's like a concurrent legacy support of all the things that we take for granted that we can do on Windows, and then a ton of improvement on supporting new types of hardware,
Mhm.
ARM-based processors, low-power CPUs, different CPU GPU combinations,
Yep.
different ways to compute, and a lot of that is also very reminiscent of how like a Linux distro gets pushed out. So it's really fascinating. In my opinion, it's really fascinating to kind of see more of the under the hood development, because streamlining and optimizing Windows has always been this Herculean task, because you don't know what Windows is going to be run on.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
don't
Because
know what hardware it's going to end up on.
and in the past, what we've seen was a mishmash of different generations of
Yeah.
Windows on top of each other. Like when we were joking earlier about Windows XP or not having a Windows 8 theme on Windows 11, it's a 0 out of 5 star. It was in a way kind of indicating the sloppy work that there was kind of a way where Windows 8 and Windows
Yeah.
8.1 came about, and then Windows 10. I mean, if you guys remember, Windows 8 had a Windows XP install. You can actually install a full version of Windows XP within Windows
Hmm.
8 that ran in compatibility mode. So you could run, in theory, things because they were trying to be compatible with, the end of life of Windows XP, and then
Oh,
kind of
I
bring
mean,
in
it still technically exists, doesn't it? Hold on. Properties,
Windows X. Windows XP mode.
compatibility.
Oh yeah, no, I meant to say the full install of Windows XP. I don't think you can
No, but that's
reinstall it
just it.
anymore.
Is I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
think about again. Apple is allowed to rip off the band-aid and break everything.
yeah, yeah.
When they went from PowerPC to Intel,
Mhm.
like nothing worked. And it took a while
To get
before
everything.
everyone was on the same page and writing code, native applications for Intel processors. And they just did it again. They went from
And then
Intel to
when M1.
VM1.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
again, Apple is allowed to just break it. And then
Yeah.
all the developers will scramble to really appease 9% of the overall
Of
PC
the
market.
user base that they have right now, which essentially is,
Sure.
yeah, you're right. It's still the people that
You
have the Intel are still holding on. I
you
mean,
minorly interrupt Windows 7 to Windows 8 and deliver a different start bar experience, and you would swear that like Microsoft had collectively driven to every techie's house and shot their dog. Everything was still functional. It was still at its core like
Windows.
a Windows 7 style kernel. Very little was interrupted in the compatibility. System
Yep.
requirements didn't change drastically,
No,
but they got rid of the start button.
they
And
gave
that
you the
was cataclysmically bad for
they gave
Microsoft
you
in
a
this
touch
conversation.
interface for a mouse and keyboard
If
interface.
you can't run, I mean, I'm in the, I just pulled up
The
OBS.
compatibility.
I right clicked on OBS just to look at the compatibility versions, and it goes all the way back to pre-service pack Vista.
Oh my
And I
God.
really want you to
Vista.
think about that window, how ridiculous that window of legacy support is. But if you don't do it, watch the fire and brimstone, the torches and pitchforks come out from all of these supposedly learned tech individuals who, as soon as Apple does something that breaks compatibility for everything that they own,
They're
it's like,
fine
well,
with it.
yeah, Apple, well, I mean, they need to, because Apple's gonna, I mean, because it's progress. And if you don't have the progress, then you can't break everything. It just works.
I know to a certain point. I've had
Windows
some
Vista.
Vista. I know. It's wow. Vista. That's one version of Windows I never wanted to hear again. It's like,
And if you have a few cores in your computer, what you were talking about, it would not be tremendously difficult to fire up Windows XP in a virtual machine and still get all the way back to that level of compatibility.
and I will admit to say that I had a few set of game, a number of games that when I did go to Windows 8, It drove me crazy that I couldn't run, but I when I installed Windows XP compatibility mode, I was able to actually
Mhm.
run some of my older games because not everything's transistent. Like I said, upgrading Windows and Windows was historically known for releasing early and not fixing everything. It's like they don't wait for everybody to catch up to them and then they release it. It's like they just throw it out there and like we'll fix it in the update. And a lot of people have taken that method of releasing things, you know what I mean, like the Windows Surface, the Surface Duo. We had some things that were released in it. Obviously it needed a couple of updates to get it decently running, but you know that was not on the plan. They wanted to get the hardware out. Hopefully what we'll see here is a better implementation and a better evolutionary step. Like I said, from what I've seen, it looks decent in the elements that it is present. The Android part that I mentioned is not going to be part of the first initial release. Mostly, it's going to be the widgets, the visual UI elements,
Mhm.
and from what we've seen with testing, it seems like it's pretty decent with gaming. It's compatible. It's running things similar to what we run in Windows
Yeah,
10.
and from what I've seen on people really hardcore benchmarking, the worst case scenario is your games play exactly the same.
Which to me is
It's
perfectly fine.
good.
I
That's
just want
fine.
120 frames per second on every single one of my games. Uh, I
Yeah, Red
I'm
Alert 2, I need that in 120 frames per second.
so I've been at the with the upgrade that I did with everything on the PC. I really was hoping to be able to push 240. Um, but then I remember that I don't play at 1080. I play at 1440. So I'm not going to be able to
Yeah,
hit 240 at QHD resolutions yet.
not
But
yet.
you know, it's decent. You know what? At 144 or 120, or roughly around that time, around that space, I think it's pretty decent. Call of Duty, I can sneak up on anybody in a very good frame rate and not drop any frames. In a Battlefield 2042 is going to be good. I'm going to be playing hopefully that with Dan, our buddy Airgeist, which I think he's asleep. Hopefully not on a couch again. If anybody sees him, he was there in the chat. But I'm excited. I want to see what Windows 11 offers us.
Mhm.
I'm liking the fact that it's going to be with compatible system a free upgrade. So you know they have a path, which is what they did to Windows 10 in the first place. I think Windows, not 10 actually. Was 10 a free upgrade from 8? I think it was.
Yes.
Okay, but it was like a
Yeah,
limited time, right? There was like
yeah, I
a
mean,
certain.
I am still I hold Windows 8 up as like a perfect example of how inconsistent our tech criticisms can be,
Yeah,
because Windows Windows 8 made a few small conveyance errors, like getting rid of the start
button.
button. You trained consumers to look for the button. I totally get that. But I really did like their attempt at trying to merge some of the things that work well on tablets. And it was
Mhm.
still a better tablet UI than what we were currently using with
It,
Android.
I was gonna say
Um,
it's a that was the thing. It's a tablet UI. It's totally a functionally tablet. It's a touch interface. It's not
yeah.
meant. Um,
And I feel like Windows 10 was just an overcorrection to people complaining about Windows 8 when Windows 8 actually was pretty good. I
for
mean, all
what?
things
What?
considered, you have that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
TikTok, you got like Windows 2000, then Windows ME.
yeah. Oh my God,
You've
ME.
got
That's not.
like Windows
Yeah,
XP, then you've got Windows Vista, you've got Windows 8.
and Windows
Like all these things.
8.1,
Oh, you Windows
10.
7, then Windows 8. There's almost
Oh
always
yeah,
like an on off, on off, on off, like good version, then not so good version of Windows. And going from Windows 7 to Windows 8, I was again to hear tech reviewers like tearing their hair out about this. I was expecting it to be completely non-functional, and it was great. I mean, like
did did
everything moved
did you
me from
jump on
Windows
when?
7 to Windows 8 just
No, no.
fine.
But did you jump into Windows 8 right when it came out, or did you wait a little bit?
I
Because I felt
waited
like
a little bit, but
they
not
did
long.
it. There was a few service packs back when we got Surface
Oh,
packs.
see, yeah. So I was in before Service Packs, and I was in before they brought back the start button.
Okay,
But
okay,
I
good.
did
So
jump in after a couple small like quality of life
where if you're
upgrades.
on a laptop and you just do the swipe left from on the right side of the mouse pad, suddenly the whole UI changes in front of you. It's like the whole like, what did I just
Yeah.
do?
But
It's
I
one of
mean, like
those.
I got in just at the beginning when they started adding slightly better conveyance tools for like when your mouse cursor would reach to the top of the screen, because that would
Yeah,
be the pull down
the pull
action
down action
for
exactly,
like closing an app and stuff. So
or go
I
jumping into
totally get
recents. Yeah, yeah, no,
some of that stuff was unfamiliar, but these people like crying about conveyance were all wrong. Like there were all you had to do was look at the mouse cursor change and it was telling you something else was an action for
They
that
they
as
were
a
they were
gesture.
trying to give you more control over the windows, which essentially is creating that window environment. You're getting a different environment. You have the desktop experience. You have the touch interface. Again, it seemed to me, for me at least, it worked better on the laptop because of the touchpad on the mouse pad that we had in there. Where on a PC, when you have a mouse and keyboard, what we meet for me at least, the biggest thing that happened is where my parents and my friends, where I needed to help them, trying to
Yeah.
explain the gestures over the phone is just not something you can
It's a
you have to see. It's a
yeah.
very much a visual thing. And my mom is obviously not going to be sitting in front of me, and we're doing tech support over the phone. At the time, she wasn't even here, she was back in Lebanon. So to me, it was like a lot of different things going on. But the goal, I think, with Windows 11 is more unified. I think the good thing is, even though they're moving things or they're changing them, it's still familiar. It's not
Mhm.
it's not a 7 to 8. It's really like kind of like a 10 to 10.1.
It really is.
Take out the zero in between, and
And I'm saying 10.1 not because it looks different, but 10.1 because there is some architectural under the hood changes, but that the core of this experience should still be
very much, yeah.
it should be and should be within the same power envelope for
Mhm.
people who own computers that ran Windows 10 well.
Yes, and Windows 10 isn't going anywhere, so it's not going to be. It's not like the moment Windows 11 is released, all of our Windows 10 PCs are like, pew, upgrade now or you are out. No,
All right, Gary the
uh,
fireman is like trying to
he's
pick a fight
killing
with
it.
me. He's like,
I
remember when
know.
we ran DOS? That sucked. You can fight me, but DOS was great.
I
Um,
started with DOS, and I can tell you right now, it is a much simpler interface and much easier to deal with and troubleshoot with. As elements were running inside of it, you knew exactly what you were running. I were it, but at the end of the day, if we see what DOS used to offer us, and I remember the upgrades to DOS, it was so easy. Like seriously, upgrading from DOS 3 to DOS 3.1 was a big improvement.
brilliant,
I mean, oh my god,
brilliant.
I it so the
There is something about the idea of like command line interface as your main interaction that I do kind of miss.
oh, Linux,
Like,
baby.
well, but I'm also like your mental capacity for organizing. I feel like moving to a visual interface, it's a lot easier to just let clutter happen. And
Absolutely, yeah. You
and I
take
feel
it
like
tends to go to the folders, bins, inside of
you have
folders,
to
sits on the
really
side.
mean it to put things in places on a
Oh,
command prompt.
I was going to say the number of commands you have to do to just make things to do what you do with the
You have
whole
to
mouse click,
really mean it.
transfer, renaming the folder, how many files you're transferring over, making sure running bat files, executable files, renaming JPEGs and downloading. It was like a whole bunch of.
Yeah.
To me, it was it was fun learning. So for me, starting with DOS and starting with before even going into Windows 3.1 or Windows 3.1,
Yeah, we
3.11, I
skipped
think.
it. We went from DOS to Windows 95. We had
Oh,
our DOS box
I
forever.
I made sure that my first, not my, this, yeah, my first PC that I actually bought that was built for me, component wise, had to have 2 MB of RAM because that was the minimum requirements for Windows 3.1. I could not run Windows if I didn't have that. If I had 1 gig of RAM, I would have run perfectly in DOS, but I would not be able
Mhm.
to boot up Windows. And that's 2 MB, not two
Yeah.
gigabytes. And it was 2 separate sticks. Let's just say that much. And it was $40 a stick.
And that was half a year's wage.
I was like, yes, and back when the dinosaurs used to kind of carry me over to the store, and I was like, had to put my little coins in there. It was weird. I mean, seriously, the PC. If I truly like had a time machine to go back and see what I was getting myself into, but then during those days, dude, I mean, seriously, this was like light years.
Mhm.
In the '94 earthquake, not to kind of bring back weird memories. Um, the night before the earthquake, I was on my PC working late, and my desk was basically close to my bed. The earthquake bounced the PC off the desk, landed it in my lap. I woke up with the PC in my lap.
Wow.
So it was that type of like I was so glad I caught it because I did not want to lose it. With obviously not the big monitor, but it was one of those weird experiences with I lived in Van Nuys back then. So let's just say that I was in the middle, not in the epicenter. I wasn't in Northridge, but I was so close that, buildings were being red tapes and stuff. So it was a
Damn.
interesting experience. And it was 2 months after I came to the US from Lebanon, and nobody mentioned earthquakes. So
Oh,
thank you,
by the
everyone.
way, the ground can't trust it.
It's not on any brochure, and I don't know how they do this. Like, why would they not say, by the way, we don't have, we don't
I feel
have
like there should be
tornadoes.
some like a class action lawsuit, some
There
truth in
should be a sign at the
advertising.
airport. There should be a sign at the airport. Oh, by the way, enjoy the weather and the earthquakes. I'm sorry, a small asterisk at the bottom. Earthquakes may occur from time to time. You have no control. Good luck.
Michael Peppertech, his PC just became a laptop.
Yeah, that's
There
pretty
you
much
go.
it's exactly. That was one of the first laptops. And I actually remember back then too that we did look for the first laptop I actually have ever seen on running DOS. Actually, it wasn't even Windows back then. It was a 386 laptop that
Was it one of the compacts?
I don't think it was a compact. It was a I forgot. I want to say it was an IBM. No, it was
Oh,
a
if it was an
thick.
IBM portable, that should have been like a collector's item in a museum. I don't think the IBM portables sold that well. I mean, I'm sure they sold like crazy because they're
no,
IBM.
yeah. The reason why behind it is it wasn't even for me. My aunt wanted a computer. My aunt said she wanted a laptop,
wow.
and this was a long time ago. And it, hold on, let me see here. Okay, laptops, sorry, DOS. Yeah.
Oh, Gary, yeah. Was it the Toshiba? I remember seeing a ton of those.
It may have been. I want to say I had pictures, but no. Oh man, this is not. It's going to take me some time to dig it up. But I remember. Oh, hold on. I think this. It was a compact. Yes, it was one of the older compacts with the massive power brick that comes like. Oh my god, yeah, it brings back memories. The reason why I mentioned
this is totally making me want to re-binge again Halt and Catch Fire. Have you watched that show?
No,
because the first season is everything like what you're describing right now, where it's all like the old computing in the 80s, and they're trying to build like a portable computer with like different types of screens, and they're trying to like sweetheart a Japanese company into giving them like LCDs and stuff, because this is like bleeding edge tech for them to have a grayscale portable screen.
Portable, something you can take with you. Which, but by the way, although portable, needed still a suitcase and a bag and a whole thing to carry. It's more portable than a desktop. Let's just say that.
I couldn't have been more than like 6. And I remember going into electronics stores and seeing like, wow, the whole top folds out for a full like keyboard, and there's a screen in there, and the screen was probably like half the size of like my Pixel 4 XL. It's like this big.
It was small. Exactly.
Tiny.
The screen was about the dimensions of the screen. The frame of the screen was the same as the keyboard. You're pulling it up, and that was the entire. Yeah. Dude, it reminds me of the old like not actually no Atom computers didn't have screens. Atoms did need a TV. And all the original like the Commodore 64 running with magnetic tapes and stuff. That was some of my original experiences, like playing. But it wasn't even mine. It was a neighbor of mine. Their parents got him a Commodore 64. I begged my mom. I got an Atari 2600.
That's still pretty good.
It's now, but back then I was like, but I wanted a Commodore 64. I wanted to be able, what I mean? Like the geeking out of it, because it was during the time also. I don't know if it was like around Doogie Howser's time or not. But it was like having a PC where I was able to, the command running it. I mean, what my experience with a PC when we started having like regular, it was on the magnetic tapes, right? It was on the floppy disks. You get the 5 1/4, not even the 3 1/2, the 5 1/4. I know we're going like at the
I mean, again, fight me, but 5 1/4s were superior.
If it's hot like it is right now, it's a built-in fan. They actually, I felt like they damaged less. It was even though they bent more, it was harder for us to kind of.
Yeah, I mean, if you kept them in the sleeve. So for me, I had a number of those 3 1/2 floppies where the little protective metal slide, if it got like, it would snap off, or if like, let's say you had a stack of them in your backpack and one of them just like the tiniest of dent or crimp, you couldn't get the cover off. It wouldn't go. So you'd be screwed. I never had issues like that with 5 1/4s. And in fact, there have been a few times where I'd have a 5 1/4 that would get like almost bent, and you could kind of recover it and get it back in the drive, and it would still sort of work.
Was still exactly it. I remember booting like you needed to have a 5 1/4 in the PC for the PC to boot up. That's where the operating
So
system.
we had our 8088. We had a 9600 baud modem. We
Oh
had
man,
dual floppies and a hard drive. We
dude,
had this. We were styling
I
in
absolutely.
the early 80s. It was intense.
You could boot it up and you can load more stuff on it. That was the best way to do
And
it.
so with dual floppies, we could also, help back up
Absolutely.
floppy disks from, especially, sometimes an interesting piece of software would be on a floppy, like a game of
Hmm.
some kind,
Games,
and
yes.
not having to transfer to a hard drive and then to
Transfer
another
back. You do
was
straight disk transfer. I no, I remember.
it was
But it
just
was
pretty sweet.
it,
So
it was during that time though that I got the bug of building a PC. That satisfaction of putting a piece of putting hardware together and then troubleshooting it once you have it all together because you didn't know how things are going to work in the first place, and then
mhm,
getting everything set up at the end. It's an accomplishment because
it really is.
you have to kind of go through it, and this is one of the things. Like it's a little bit scary to some people because they look at it how it is, but it's fun once you know what you're doing and that it's really based on certain principles that are not that complex, but you do need to respect those principles, otherwise you will pay. It's
And
not a
and
hard thing.
especially back before components were quite as easily plug and play. I mean, there's still a challenge to PC building and optimizing and getting everything
Uh,
set up today, but
Absolutely, but
there was
yep.
something so, like, Wild West, but with a soldering iron.
Absolutely. Where
It's all over the
you
place.
had to gamble on the RAM that you were getting to make sure that it was running right, or you wouldn't really know compatibility. There was no companies didn't have any stated, oh, our system is compatible with XYZ manufacturer RAM. That didn't exist back then. Back then, you pick the RAM, you try it out, and if you're lucky, it booted up. But anyways, I don't want to kind of like we started Windows 11 and it just brought back a whole bunch of slew of things. There's a lot of trial and error. Yeah, it was definitely a lot of
And
trial and
now,
errors.
again, I mean, someone else, who was it? I think it was Oliver, was saying that there was like a command line launcher that you can use for Android. But even just like the notion that you can run DOS in a web browser,
Hmm.
like it's not that hard. Or if you want to play some classic old school PC games, like
Oh,
your ability
emulate,
to
yeah,
emulate
emulators now,
DOS is easy.
it's a lot of fun. Just reminiscing on some of those hard times that we used to have to deal
God,
with back
like it
then.
makes me want to go and get like all of the old like Space Quests. I loved those games. Now I'm gonna have to see if I can find them.
You should.
Hold
You
on.
know, definitely. I think it's so we haven't brought back gaming, which by the way we talked about a few weeks before. We said we were going to bring back gaming into this, and we are going to play some Tetris
Yeah.
and kind of kick back. But Wolfenstein, oh my God, Wolfenstein 3D, man, oh man, Quake, the original Quake, the first Doom, Wolfenstein, oh
Have you
man,
played Doom 3 on the what is it?
on the Pixelbook 3, the Pixelbook Go, the free
No, no,
version.
no, no. There's an emulator that just added Doom 3 support. So if you
Oh
have the
no.
Doom 3 install files,
Mhm.
it runs so well on like Snapdragon
Yeah, the
855s.
Okay. No, I the last time I ran
Like it's
the
so
original
good.
Doom was on the Pixelbook Go because it came with a free download for the Android version, I think was it. Remember when we first got the Pixelbook Go? It was like one of those free downloaded
Oh,
promos
you
that you
could get
download.
you got Doom 2.
Oh, Doom 2. Yeah, yeah,
But
that's what
Doom
it was.
3 is one of the built off the Quake engine,
Okay, that's
was
when
the
they
one
started
that.
changing.
And just so
Yeah,
you know, the entire Space Quest collection on Steam is $7.
that's a steal.
So I
That
think I'm
is.
gonna have to get that.
I'm gonna have to get that as well. Do I have Steam on this
I think
machine?
I'm just gonna push buy it right now. Add to cart.
I don't have Steam on this one. Steam is on that side. Um, it's one of those. Like I said, it just brings back a lot of good times, and I don't think Omar can ever appreciate it because he looks at some of these things, like some of the older games. I'm like, what is that? How does that? Is that a game?
I think there's a little bit of a window because like right now, Lex is playing a lot of like educational games.
Hmm.
Those haven't changed a lot. I don't know
They.
if you remember like the Dr. Brain series of educational games in the mid 90s. They were a
I.
little too young for us.
Mhm.
But if you had any siblings or if you had like any nephews or nieces or anything, my sister was super into Dr. Brain. and it was just like little puzzle games and math problems and logic puzzles and stuff like that. And then
Mhm.
you go and you pull up like Khan Academy Kids,
Yep.
modern bleeding edge tablet, game for kids, and they could be the same.
It's the
Slightly
premise.
better animations, but
Yep.
like nothing too crazy. So I feel like if I can catch Lex in the next like 2 years,
Mhm.
and we go back and we play like text-based adventures, Monkey Island, Space Quest, King's Quest, I feel like those will be good typing,
Mhm.
like text-based
Typing, right.
adventure, and you've got to like learn how to type on the keyboard so that you can get your
Move.
commands in time. I learned how to type by playing Space Quest.
I like that.
And you
I,
get to that one room where if you didn't type your command in fast enough, like something would kill you and you had a limit around it. So I had to learn how to like open door, grab laser, gun,
and
enter.
and
I got killed again.
I like it. Gary's like, Mr. Brain is Aditya, so he's like definitely Dr. Brain.
Dr. Brain.
Yeah, yeah. No, dude, it is an old
Yeah,
SimCity
and not
games and
Mr. Brain. He didn't spend 8 years in video game brain academy to
I
be
mean,
called Mr.
Mr.
Brain. Thank you very much.
He's Dr. Brain, man. Say it right. Say it right.
So
Oh
are you
man.
playing any new games? Is there anything that's
No, not really. So I I got the computer up and running and I'm starting to do my testing on the 3080 Ti. I'm getting some weird numbers. I'm getting some worse performance than my 2080 Ti when it came. Not when it comes to gaming. Gaming absolutely kicks ass. There's no question. There's a big
Mhm.
upgrade. I have not been able to figure out why Premiere does not run the GPU the same that way it ran the 2080 Ti. What I mean by this is I'm rendering a project. Typically what I've done with my 2080 is I run my project, it's like 15, 20 minutes. It's typical version of when I'm doing my videos. And it typically runs at basically 80 to 90% GPU performance throughout the render process. And it ends with about like an 80%. When you're rendering it from 1080-30 or 1080, at the 1080-30, it's not a one-to-one. It's more like 80%. It takes 80% of the time of the video to render itself. That to me was a good performance, a good measurement for the 2080, at least in Premiere with all the elements that I
Mhm.
have in there. The 3080 Ti is running 2 minutes longer than the
Mhm.
same project, same timeline. So I'm getting confused as to why. When I fixed the GPU issue with the PC, so what the long story I'm trying to say is I haven't been able to play new games or discover anything new because I've been still trying to figure out how to get my existing setup to run smoothly. Um, I got the system to recognize both monitors. I realized that was the driver issue, so I fixed that problem. Um, editing videos in 4K in 1080, both fine. I'm running them in full resolution in Premiere. I can scrub. Everything works beautifully. 3080 handles everything like a champ. When it comes to rendering, at about 40% progress of when the GPU is running at like a 90% full load, it
Mhm.
drops to 20% and it just stays at 20% for the rest of the whole render. No rhyme or reason. Nothing changes. I mean, different clips are moving, different elements, but for the most part, it's consistent with what was in the first 40% of the video. And I'm getting somewhere between like in when I did call support from Adobe, one render that was 18 minutes and 6 seconds took 35 minutes at 1080. What that? Why? What?
Yeah.
I don't understand if it's a compatibility issue. Could be also early adoption because 3080 Ti is
Yeah.
technically super new.
And Adobe isn't super aggressive at updating for hardware.
No, and typically they're super slow. So
Yeah.
where I think I've benefited from the years I was on the 2080 on the year the long duration that I've had the 2080 Ti in
That
there.
maybe this could just be an optimization issue.
And yeah, but then you're getting the hardware at launch. Gamers obviously are they're the first supported they're the intended customer,
Yeah.
right? And the thing that usually happens to creators is that we typically use gaming hardware, but the optimizations for us are not always right on the hop. So the short version of it is I'm having a hard time putting a video together saying that the 3080 Ti is not ready yet for creators if you're using Adobe. So I'm gonna run a few more tests on the 3080, switch back to the 2080, see what I'm able to kind of figure out the difference between the two. If it runs perfectly, then that's going to be the solution for now. But I also want to run DaVinci. Because I think in DaVinci,
Yeah.
its story may change a little bit. That takes Adobe out of the equation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, if
So
you see anything similar, then it could be a thermal issue on
So
the
I thought it
3080.
was thermal.
Yeah.
That was the other thing. When I run games like Call of Duty, Apex, Warzone, or anything like that, the thermals at about 70 to 71 degrees. The 3080 was known to run warmer. That's
Mhm.
the biggest thing. The 3080 is closer to the 3090 than it is to the 3080. Sorry, the TI is closer to the 3090 than it is to the 3080 in architecture. It just has
Sure.
a few more things taken out, but it's running the cooler from the 3080, not the cooler from the 3090
Mm.
because of the form factor. They kept the same form factor as the 3080. So I was worried about thermals, and I thought maybe it is a thermal thing. Maybe because the GPU hits a certain temperature, it drops the performance, but it never goes back up. It sits at 20%, 49C for the rest of the video render. And where it was at the beginning of the video telling me it was going to take 7 minutes for an 18-minute video, and I was like really excited. The after 40% to the end takes literally almost double to 3 times
The
as
amount of
much.
time, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a total. The way to explain it is the short answer is I'm debating a couple of things. Is it partially because of the way the GPUs, the 3080 Ti's are more they've been modified to have, I think, was it LHR, or they're not used for mining. You can't use the mining capabilities have been limited on them. And
And
I
if
don't
that's
think
affecting other GPU compute.
which is what we use because we're not
Right.
using because rendering is a different format. It uses different processes on the GPU than it is when you're using gaming. So
Which could also then maybe hopefully it's just a firmware issue.
and that's
And
what
they
I'm
can
hoping it's a totally kind of like firmware updating as more people start using it. Um, the thing for me though on the temperature, when I was playing Call of Duty for like 20-30 minutes on match after match after match, had no problem sitting at 71%, 71C on that GPU. It consistent 69 to 71 fluctuates, playing 220 frames per second, dual monitors, and it worked. So I don't think it's a temperature thing. I truly believe it's an optimization between Adobe, and I think it's more on Adobe than it is on NVIDIA because their graphics process their graphics cards and drivers have been updated quite a few times. So
Well, I mean, I think you're spot on though that
it's
the
troubleshooting.
DaVinci test is
That's going to be
critical.
my yeah. If DaVinci runs and DaVinci blows through everything, that could
It's
be
time to say
my.
goodbye to Adobe.
I was going to say that would be the day I say
I did it and I
turn off
really
auto
loved it.
renew.
I gotta say, because I've always been terrible about like color grading and white balance
And I
and
don't I
like
don't do I don't do too much of those functions.
every video I learn one new little thing about DaVinci, like, oh, the way they do gamma is really easy. Or like I just want to nudge up the shadows. Oh, how I select clips. This is so much nicer. It's so
I I'm
again,
I'm I'm
anyone who's
worried
a
at this point.
real video editor for their I
Oh,
mean, would just be like so disappointed in my rudimentary
reprocess.
experience with video editing. But it's like literally every video I find one little thing like I didn't know before about Resolve. And it's
It
like
gets
this
better and better.
this just changed my life.
But that's literally what I've been doing lately for the last for the last 3 or 4 days, trying to like I
It's
don't know,
just
I don't
troubleshoot.
understand it, and it is, but it's also I feel like
Well,
this
to,
the
to take
conversation
your
we're having.
place in
Yeah.
playing games, Aditya Anil just fired up Control. And
Oh,
I
oh, that's right.
wish
It was
I
free.
could I could like dig into my brain and cut out the part of my brain that played Control so that I could play it again for the first time.
Experience it for the first time. Yeah.
So I just totally fresh. I wish I could have that experience over again. I so love Control. It's so
Control for
good.
me was Jedi mind powers, dash speed. It just to me the mechanics, the gameplay, the
And and
graphics, the story,
and
the
the
suspense.
Oh, I mean, the first time, I mean, because no spoilers. I'm gonna keep it to the very beginning, especially because Aditya is probably not too deep into it. But the first time you walk through your headquarters and you see those people floating
Hmm.
in the hallways is still like one of the eeriest aesthetics I think I've ever experienced in a game because it's not outright horror, but
No,
deeply unsettling as you're trying to explore this new location and figure out what your exposition is. Just like what's the beginning of the story and what's going to get me hooked. And as soon as I started seeing, and you see these people and they look like they're being like kind of puppeteered up into the
Mhm.
sky, and it's just so haunting and so chilling. The whole tone of the game is just wonderful. And again, even if
The
you
narration
don't,
is absolutely on point. Yeah.
oh, and like the performances are good. The protagonist is so
Relatable. Yeah.
relatable,
No, no,
identifiable.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Even if you're not into like, action fantasy games, I would even recommend maybe finding some good playthroughs just because the story itself is interesting. And I mean, obviously some of the action stuff gets a little dull if you're just watching someone play, but I can't say enough nice things about Control as a full cinematic storytelling platform for interactive fantasy combat. It's just so good.
And I love what Aditya is saying is that's I think what really kind of appealed to a lot for me was the sheer force esque of the game, the push, the grab, the pull, the throw. It's
It
like Jedi mind trick.
feels
It
so good.
it's Jedi. It's a Jedi video game, but to the next level with a mass amount of storytelling, graphical represent, and so the reason why I got into Control originally was with the 2080 Ti, is when I was truly able to enjoy it with like like bumping up resolutions up to the highest level, because it does need a decent system if you're not
Oh
running it
yeah.
like on Stadia, or if you're running it on GeForce Now, because I've played it on GeForce Now, which actually does a pretty decent job for
It's
a
pretty
web
good.
based.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Nvidia, I think overall with the amount of games that they've added over the years, every Thursday or so, I think they typically do a very good job, and their servers have gotten a lot better. I'm not going to say I still have Stadia. I still have GeForce Now, which is this a very good experience. So it's one of those things you get to enjoy. One of the other thing I'm getting into was Nvidia Studio. So I'm trying to get the
Mm.
new Nvidia Studio 2.1. I don't know if you could kind of no, you can't here. Let me see what I'm trying to do. I'm pointing into the void. So I got the camera set up. I got my new Elgato Key Air light that's set up.
Nice.
So next week, live streaming is on for good. I got the camera working this time. I know Greg is in the chat. He saw that I was in. I did a live stream without a video. He's like, TK, where are you? I'm like,
Oh,
I'm,
right. I should
I'm
probably sit in front of this camera thing.
yeah. No. So what happened is I moved the PC. Let me bring you guys back out. So I moved the PC, and the PC is sitting right here. But I can't turn it on, otherwise it sounds like I'm taking off. So the PC is sitting on my desk now, no longer under. So all my wires had to go sideways, and the
Mhm.
camera wire wasn't long enough. So I needed to get an extension.
Yep.
Oh man,
Good
but
times.
I'm liking it. Like I'm just saying, RGB heaven, and I'm still getting more RGBs.
So I know we're probably getting this wrapped up.
Oh
I've
yeah,
been cruising the indie games
yeah.
circuit. Some
Mhm.
two really notable Android releases. Crypt of the Necro Dancer. So this is hold on. Let me do screen share here real quick, and
Yeah.
I'll fire up the Steam page. And you can check this out. So this is a new arrival for Android. And oh, I should probably mute that. Yeah,
Don't worry, we're
whew,
not
that
monetized.
was loud.
I was kidding.
But yeah, so it's a dungeon
Oops,
crawling
sorry, I
kind of
didn't mean to do
roguelite,
this one.
but
Let's do it one
the
more
major
time.
mechanic
Bam.
is your movements and attacks are you rack up chains when
Hmm.
you stay on the beat. And then of course enemies attack to like the beat of the music and
Play
stuff.
with your
So
own. Oh, with your own MP3s, you can load your own music.
yeah, and you can load your own music. You can add your own playlists. It's obviously a little bit trickier on a touch screen. They have a couple different control mechanisms where you can either swipe or you can dedicate like kind of arrows on your
Okay,
screen, and
I was
obviously
gonna.
without tactile landmarks, it's pretty tricky. But again, it's just really charming. And if you've ever played kind of rhythm violence games like Thumper,
Hmm.
then this would absolutely be up your alley. But
I
then
like
the
it.
other one that just got released, anyone who hasn't played it, this is one of maybe the best puzzle games ever made. It is smart. It is unforgiving. It is bitingly difficult, but then also extremely creative. Is Baba is you.
Do you know what Baba means in Arabic?
I do not know what Baba means in Arabic.
It means dad.
Oh, that's isn't that it's a similar root to one of the Chinese dialects, isn't it? Like ba.
It may be back, yeah. But in Arabic, it's literally mean it's the term you call your dad. So it's Baba, but it's also the term that dad calls their son or their daughter. So it's in an
Oh,
Arabic household. When you go in, you'll hear me a good number of times calling my son Baba, even though I am the dad, but I call him by the title he calls me. So Baba is
gotcha.
you. It hits a home. It hits home very much for me now.
So
But
this game
Baba is
is
you, rock is you. I saw that section.
so no. I mean, this is what's so clever. It plays with words. So
Mhm.
Baba is you. So and then rock is push. So that means you can push the rock. But then when you move the word rock to rock is you, then you
You're the
move
rock.
the rock. You become the rock and it moves around. And
I
all
like.
of the puzzles operate with this kind of mechanic of moving words around so
And
that
taking
you
over.
can control aspects. And it's one of those games. It does this. So I've played it a lot on the PC. It just came out for Android. I'm totally going to buy it again because I love
Mhm.
supporting developers. And it's cheaper on Android than it is on Steam, and it's on sale on Steam. Um, it's one of those games that does that brilliant trick of, a game designer wants you to beat the game. You don't really beat the game, right? The game designer has done a bad job if you can't finish the game. They
Yeah, I
haven't
see
done
it.
their
It's
job.
actually a decent, yeah, 6.99 is pretty decent.
And so Baba is you does it's one of the few games where when you solve the puzzle,
Mhm.
you almost always feel like you've done something clever, or you did something unexpected, or you used a mechanic in a way that the game designers maybe didn't foresee. But then in the back of your brain, you have to know, like, no, that's probably exactly what the
Mhm.
game designers wanted me to do, but the game is rewarding me for exploring and trying new tactics and trying new concepts and moving things around in different ways. It was totally foreseen by the game developers, but it's subversive. It you as the player feel like I just outsmarted this puzzle. I mean, it's such
And in
a
reality, that you figured out exactly how you're supposed to get
exactly what they wanted you
yeah,
to do.
yeah,
But
yeah.
but again, there are so few games that I feel really convey properly the different, like, combinations of tactics that you
Mhm.
can use. They set up rules, and then it's very linear, and then you get to the end and you've got the story and everything's fine. Baba is you is just insanely clever in how it allows you to move pieces around the world to get at your objective. So if someone here hasn't played it, um
Have to pick it up.
absolutely. This again, if you like clever puzzle games, I mean,
Mhm.
if you want to play it on PC, it's $12 on Steam right now
I was
on
gonna say
sale.
6.99
But
over on Android.
it's $6.99 on Android. And I just want to support any developers that are bringing good games. I mean, native to Android, to mobile. It's just so good. And then also, I think Josh brought up one, Thronebreaker. I
Oh,
haven't
yeah.
gotten to jump on Thronebreaker, but I caught that one on the Android gaming subreddit.
Oh,
There
yeah.
were a couple of people that were really lit up about Thronebreaker too.
Yeah, I saw that one there. Yeah, 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 no way. So I'm glad. Okay, so I'm definitely going to be checking out Baba Is You because because I can play it on Android, which I don't have to depend on my PC. Again, gaming on the PC was not a problem. It's the other stuff that's holding me back. But
I don't know. I mean, did you like Thumper?
Thumper is a very fun game. Yes, it drives
You
me
might
crazy.
like Crypt of the Necrodancer.
So I may end up picking up that one for the PC and then keeping Baba Is You on the Android
it's
side.
it's kind of like Dead Cells. If you play Crypt of the Necrodancer on a touchscreen, it's like ultra hard mode. I've
It's
made it only through like 2 floors.
I
And
was
I
gonna
mean,
say
those are like
once you talked
intro
about the
levels,
mechanic,
which shouldn't be
yeah.
that hard.
When you said touch, you're like I'm like no mouse keyboard. That's how it's gonna be. It's gonna be a keyboard kind of a game.
Or
For
even a
me,
controller, again, the buttons,
yeah,
just
yeah,
you want
no,
a
no.
tactile response to
You
it
want
too.
to get those, yeah, exactly. I think it changes the whole experience of the game for at least for me, for somebody that hasn't played it. Witcher Gwent also fans also love the story driven by Stormbreaker. Joshua is still learning macro. Baba O'Reilly is an awesome song.
It is. It's a great
It
song.
is.
If you can catch the Blue Man Group cover of Baba O'Reilly, really good.
Wait, sorry about that. Blue Man sings. They have
they did a tour called the Complex Tour, which I got to see.
Okay.
And they brought in guest singers. Off of the Complex Tour, there was a cover of one of their songs by Dave Matthews, and Gavin Rosdale sang
okay.
on, I can't remember the name of the song, but it was used in the end credits of Terminator 3.
Good to know. Okay, I'll look it up. Blue Man Group, Baba.
It's not
Baba
Underground.
O'Reilly,
That's a Ben Folds 5 song, but it's again, it's something kind of industrial sounding that they used at the end of
Baba Yaga is John Wick. I'm like, a lot of people when they hear me say the word Baba to my son, they think I'm saying Bubba, which is a Southern term of endearment, also kind of. So they think I'm saying Bubba to my son.
As long as you're not trying to like Bubby, then like, you're probably going to be fine.
Like, what a Bubby? Yes, no. But yeah, so with that being said, I think for me, I think if anything, I have to say, even though it's not part of the show, the best part of my week was seriously last Friday, Saturday. I would still have to say it. I can't. I'm still trying to work on figuring out how to top that off. I think another meetup would be to like you two at the same place. That would top it off.
Lex ate almost the entire cheese pizza that you.
I love it. I love that she liked it.
Was totally on point.
It was an easy way. Like seriously, it's like easier. Like, what do you have? That's. I grew up with it. That's what I ate as a child growing up, and it makes perfect sense. I got to discover something new. I got some great tacos from Senor Taco Man over on Saturday Taco Guy. I don't know if it doesn't rhyme well, but Josh definitely makes some mean tacos. Some mean, like he's definitely the host when it comes down to taco bar. Absolutely. Good. And Japan Boss Coffee. He had you've been, the Japan's little vending machines, and all across Japan, for me, Boss Coffee was like the number one thing. I always go for it. And every time I see Josh, he has one. So I feel bad because he keeps giving me all these really good coffees. So yeah, I'll wrap it up by saying,
and also like, because he's known for tea, but he also knows coffee.
Oh yes, no.
For sure.
Yeah, he spills the tea, but I'm sorry. No.
So next week, I know you're kind of troubleshooting some PC issues there, but what's on the docket? Obviously, we've got the Saturday stream. You're going to be doing
Saturday stream for me.
What other fun things do you think?
Pixel Buds 8, I think for me are going to be the next focus. I have some things I can talk. I can't talk about them yet. Okay, so let's just say this. I'm working on some stuff. I can say this much. It's going to be exciting. Next week's going to be, it's going to be exciting. Let's just say that.
Fair.
I could try to say.
I feel one of the things you can't talk about is also something I can't talk about.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, let's just say that it's going to be exciting. I don't know how to. I'm trying to figure out what a better way to. I'm trying to say it in like funny way, like how kind of thing.
Over this next week, I think I want to try and do some kind of editorial on TCL's wearable headset. The next, what was it? Next Vision or something.
So yeah, that was one of their biggest announcement today at MWC. That was today's.
So, and I saw one of the other. I mean, again, no one really has their hands on them yet, but there's something really interesting about the concept. So I might put together just like a little editorial or analysis on that.
I got a chance to play with a pair a couple of years ago. Not a couple of years ago. I think it was last year's CES, not this year. I went in and they had a demo, and it was an earlier version of what this is. Mm-hmm. But it is definitely the like a very promising experience. And I think from what I've seen with the press release, it's going to be initially supported on the 20 Pro, right? I think I read it correctly. So. The TCL 20 Pro.
Like they're listing a whole bunch of like other phones. Like what I love is TCL, they make TVs. They're like, we don't really care what phone. Like, we just a bunch of phones that it's going to work with.
We want you to use
it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think initially they wanted to kind of tie it to the 20 Pro, and I think it's good. And then, unfortunately, it's not going to be available yet. So the short answer is, it's an exciting piece of tech. It's something that
Yeah,
Juan and I we talked about AR, VR, but
we
this
don't
is
have to
different.
break it on all down
Yeah.
now. Just as the
So
tease,
we'll
I think I
see.
might do something about that. If you're on the Patreon, early access, I finally got my OnePlus 9 versus Mi 11i
Yeah.
showdown.
Good.
So that's available on the Patreon. That should be going live public in either tomorrow or the day after tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And then tomorrow I'm doing a live stream with Asus and Newegg, where we're
Nice.
going to give away a 3070 Ti.
I'll be on that stream right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, really. I mean, again, if you need to compare and contrast against your 3080
3080 Ti. Yeah.
maybe that'll help narrow down whatever teething pains you're getting. But so that's going
Or
to be going
introduce
up
a whole bunch. Yeah.
tomorrow afternoon. And then I also wanted, I've just been on a real audio kick. So obviously Pixel Buds will be a part of the conversation, but with all the talk about lossless audio for Apple and spatial audio, I reached out to the folks at Odyssey, and they were kind enough to hook me up with a revisit loaner pair of Odyssey Mobius.
Nice.
So these were released in 2019, and I kind of feel they're definitely more of a gaming focus, a gaming headset focus than like like AirPods Max are supposed to be premium headphones. This is a gaming headset, but I kind of feel these didn't quite get the attention for 3D and spatial audio that they deserved, because the concept was still super, super new. And now that Apple's done this, like, oh, spatial audio is amazing. Coming back to revisit these with planar magnetic drivers and Waves audio 3D head tracking, and there are $100 less than the AirPods Max, I feel like there's an interesting conversation here in revisiting something that was way ahead of the tech curve for when it was originally released.
And we're finally catching up. Yes.
Yeah, like consumers are catching up to where this was. It's not like there's any technology on this, and even down to silly things like, oh no, if I need to slum it with Bluetooth, it only connects over LDAC. There is no aptX support.
It's LDAC.
And why would you bother?
Do you even LDAC, bro?
Do you do less? No. That would be silly. Why would you spend that much on headphones and not connect over the best audio codec that you could use?
If there was one thing to mention
at
least on the Sony's, that kind of I wish Sony had an option inside of the app that tells you that LDAC has to be turned on in the Bluetooth settings, not in the actual app itself. That would be my only thing.
I love that I fired these up. I connected them first to my OnePlus 9, and there's still definitely a focus. Like, they want you to use this with a cable and a good amp. I mean, they still that's still a major part of a.
Did you hook it up with the FIA, or did you just do straight on?
So the very first thing I did when I hooked it up over Bluetooth, there is no choice. I go into my OnePlus 9. There is no setting to drop. It connects over LDAC.
That's
Screw
nice.
You. That's what it does.
That's how it should be. If you do have the hardware to support it, you should have that on by default. I feel like Sony has it off by default. Like the default codec is
doesn't
SBC.
Make any sense to me.
I don't know why. Yeah. Like there's no instruction to tell you, oh, go into the settings to turn it on. You have to know to get there. It's like one of those Samsung, when Samsung releases a phone, it's a QHD 120 hertz frame refresh rate, blah blah blah.
But not out of the box. It's not.
No, out of the box is 1080p, 60 frames per second, because that's how they feel like you're going to be able to get the best battery life. And if you turn anything on after that, that's going to degrade the battery. But the answer is, what I'm trying to say is, it supports it. I know it works, and once you turn it on, you could see it. It's just, to me, it was like, why not have why not have that function inside of the system? But the short answer is, they still sound great. I mean, even at SBC, it's still higher than AAC and or aptX. I think it's just overall the SBC, the codec is
the
one you want to be able to get better range.
Has good. I mean, we could probably spend another hour on this. So let's be careful getting me triggered.
I wasn't trying. What I meant to say is that for me, performance, when I was talking about range and latency, improved over SBC than LDAC. My concern was that the LDAC function, which is to me the best like if I want to be able to enjoy the headphone,
Mhm.
I want that on by default. I don't want to have to
Yeah.
look for it. That's what I was trying
And
to show.
it's really interesting because how these chips process this kind of data.
Mhm,
Like for example, if you take a FIO BTR5,
mhm.
and that's like a little adapter, so you plug in cabled headphones and it turns, it's a Bluetooth transmitter.
Yeah.
I feel
Oh,
the
that I think.
only low latency mode that really works on that is LDAC. The aptX and the AAC,
Mhm,
nowhere near as responsive as the LDAC. So I mean, again, it's the frustrating thing about wireless audio isn't that, well, there are these kind of different standards. It's
mhm,
that the implementation at the hardware level on every piece of kit that you get,
mhm.
then talking to another device like a phone, which handles this all differently too. Because someone was saying in here, who was it? Jonathan is saying his Xperia uses LDAC by default. A
Yes,
Sony Xperia should do the
LDAC
Sony codec LDAC by
and
default. That
and
makes perfect
DSCE
sense.
turned on by default. Yeah, no, and those are the things you
That
expect.
that makes perfect sense. But you can't account for that. The Sony experience of using LDAC on an Xperia is different than when you connect an LDAC supporting player to a OnePlus or to a Pixel. Or
Yep.
I mean, I think on LG, it was really frustrating. On LGs, I would hook up something like the BTR and it
Mhm.
would default to aptX. And like I couldn't get it. That was the high quality option. It saw aptX on the player, it would use aptX, and I would have to go into developer
Developer
settings to
option and
force
turn. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
over into LDAC if I wanted to use LDAC. So again, it's the frustration isn't, this stuff needs like a menu setting. It's that it's kind of impossible to account for headphones, the software you're using on the on the player, the radio connection to the phone or to whatever computing device you're going to use. So it
Yep.
was actually kind of refreshing that there just wasn't a choice.
Yeah.
I fire up the Mobius and they're like, nope, we did
LDAC,
LDAC.
LDAC or nothing else. That's it. Move on.
So
Yeah,
I mean,
I like.
again, I've got to respect that. Like they made their choice, they drew the line in the sand, and they're sticking to it. So short story, incredibly
Incredibly
long.
long. Yeah.
Now that Apple has invented spatial audio about 2 years after Odyssey and Creative did
Mhm,
it first, I kind of feel like now's a good time to look back. I've got the Creative Super X-Fi. I've
mhm.
got the Sennheiser,
Okay.
the wireless GSPs. They're not Sennheiser anymore, but when I got them, they were still officially a Sennheiser brand, a Sennheiser product. And then there is some acoustic modeling that I can do with my wireless Audio Technicas.
Okay.
And so 4 gaming headsets, well, 3 gaming headsets and a home theater wireless headset. And I kind of want to play like this stuff has been accessible. We've been playing with it. These are different versions of it. And
Mhm.
they can also do the same music listening tricks that like AirPods can do. I kind of want to play a little bit and just see where we kind of end up with this different like 3D head tracking, spatial audio manipulation, all that fun stuff. So hopefully I'll be able to get something out on that next week.
Looks like it's going to be a busy week, but I think it's going to be a fun week. It's a busy, fun week. Let's just say that. But yeah, I want to say I think we've kind of hit that beautiful sweet spot of actually. Oh man, we're almost at
Yeah,
two
we're
hours.
over.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
way over. Like, okay, that tells you how bad we are at timing. Never trust us for time. But I hope that we had a at least an entertaining. Oh man, I've tried aptX HD. Oh man, okay, codec can take us for hours. Um, I want to say first and foremost, obviously, thank you to everybody for hanging out with us. Thank you to Juan for spending his beautiful afternoon on Thursday talking codec and getting, we geeked out on Windows and PC hardware, and we almost turned the show into a pixel butt a um, kind of like a soiree, if I had to put it for a better way. Exactly. I so want to go put these in egg cartons right now, just to kind of just like, hey, yeah, wouldn't it be nice if they had a lighter like you did?
You're
But
just like,
yeah,
but you can feel like that has a Zippo like feel to it.
it has that.
Very
Yeah,
satisfying.
very very much. And the magnets are definitely a lot stronger. You could definitely put them on top of each other, and if I'm not mistaken, haha. That's our magic trick for today. So hope you guys are doing. Hope you guys have a great rest of the evening. Good morning and a good day for everybody that's hanging out with us early in the mornings, depending on what part of the world you're with. I'm hoping this weekend end up being a really good show for you guys, as well as some of the stuff that we're going to put out. So keep your eyes peeled, hanging out with your buddy here Saturday, and of course Monday morning with the SGGQA. We'll see you in another week for another show, the best of your week and best of our
Bring it
week.
on back. Yeah.
Exactly. Next Thursday evening. We'll try. We may have some surprises by the time you see our video on Thursday.
There's going to be some stuff.
There'll be some stuff. There'll be a lot of videos. Take care, everybody.
Bam.
Always.